ballerinas. Like, they're men, you know what I mean? And they're like, not that ballerinas can't be men. I'm sorry. Okay, we can cut this out. I haven't been sleeping.
So Matt's spooky. Just to kind of like wrap up. Matt's a spooky guy, and he caught a spooky EVP, and he gave a drunken interview outside a bar with his wicked Boston accent.
Yeah, with Arthur.
With Arthur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Addie. What did he call him? Addie?
Addie. And then we all took a nice photo together.
You took a bath together? What?
A photo. My goodness.
A photo.
My word.
That makes a lot more sense.
Oh, gosh. What kind of rating are we giving this podcast? Okay. So, on to the next. Our next thing we have is from a building in Wellesley, Massachusetts. I have actually been on 4 separate ghost hunts here. 3 of which were with Boston Paranormal Investigators, and 1 of which was with Paranormal Expeditions. So they were the first people to come in and do one for me. And then I had, we did 3 with Boston Paranormal Investigators.
And we interviewed the lead investigator from Boston Paranormal for our first ever episode here on Ghost Hunting in New England.
Yeah,
is that correct?
So that is correct. So if you want to know more about them, go check out our first episode. We'd love it if you would just marathon right on through our entire podcast. When I went with Boston Paranormal Investigators on their second trip, we got a bunch of EVPs.
Excellent.
Yeah, and we're going to play 2.
All right. So can you kind of set the stage for us first? What was happening that caused you to go on these ghost hunts, these investigations?
There's a building. There's probably there's a bunch of offices upstairs. There is some businesses on the first level. And
is there a delicious little deli sort of cafe?
Beth, it is so interesting you say that because dagnabbit, there happens to be the best gosh darn crepe place in all of New England there.
Is there?
The best one ever. And it is so good. Oh my gosh, let me tell you, they got a presto pesto crepe. It'll knock your socks right off.
You know, I've heard that they have this really unique thing there, a banana Mackie crepe.
They do have that, but it is only running for 1 day after we air this podcast.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
It's okay, because after that, they're going to have their Blue Skies special for June, which is one of their most popular specials of the year. It's blueberries with powdered sugar and lemon juice.
Excellent.
So,
I do remember that one.
It's delicious. It's very good.
All right.
Very, very good. A really talented cook created the entire menu from scratch, and it's Scratch Kitchen, and you should swing by if you're in the area. Before the cafe was opening, this bright, brilliant, entrepreneurial spirit of a woman had her other cafe still running. So she was trying to open the next one. So there were a lot of nights that we'd be there from 6 p.m. till about 1, 2 a.m. in the morning, getting ready to go, getting ready to set up, get all of the inspection stuff done. And she was down in the basement a lot. And all of a sudden, some spooky shit started happening. Faucets were going on and off. Lights were flickering in a weird way. You could, feel the temperature drops. They had fridges were opening and shutting. And this is something we actually also talked about with Barry, is a lot of times spirits will kind of hang out and, screw with your electricity. Within the first 2 months of this cafe opening, every single piece of equipment went down at least once. And we had to, within our first 6 months, we replaced over 40 light bulbs, which is
that's a lot of light bulbs because there's only 8 light bulbs in the whole place.
Correct. So they were replacing it multiple times, and it was costing that cafe owner quite a bit. So she's getting pretty annoyed. 1 light bulb doesn't seem like that much. If you got 40, I mean that's a lot of money. That weird stuff started happening. It was just spooky. It was weird and it was spooky. So she went to the landlord and was like, yo, your building's haunted? Thinking he was just going to laugh it off. And he was like, oh, you're much more... Something along the lines of oh, you're more in tune than most people. Got her all these papers about... that were written about the building being haunted. And these articles are from the early 2000s, the 1990s. And it's so weird we're talking about this because I didn't tell you about this, Beth. But I heard that this young lady was sitting in her cafe last week and someone walked in and said, is this building haunted? And we were like, what are you talking about? And she was like, yeah, I read all these articles about it. And I think that person listens to this podcast.
Bum, bum, bum.
Because, like, I don't know how else she would have really heard about it. Anyway, neither here nor there.
But I don't believe that this particular institution has been mentioned on this podcast previously.
Yeah, actually, you're right. So, I don't know. Let's hope she tunes in.
And gives us a 5-star review.
Oh, all this spooky stuff kept happening. So we had some paranormal investigators come in. The first group, we didn't catch a lot of evidence. We did hear a lot of like weird laughing, but none of it was picked up on the tapes. That's when they called in Boston paranormal investigators, and they caught some stuff. So we actually caught a bunch of stuff. They had lots of clearings done. So we had a Native American ritual done. Then I was also present when they did some like Wiccan ritual stuff, and that actually worked for the most part. After the first 2 rituals, bread started flying off the counters at people working there. So yeah, that was pretty wild and super spooky. And then we got some EVPs, and I'm going to play 2 of them right now. We're going to have a guest at some point. We're not going to say when we're going to have her because obviously we can't get our acts together. But we're going to have, she's a witch. She's an actual witch. And she's very interesting to talk to. And I will give you some of her insights after we play these. So here's the first one. You're going to hear me talking and you're going to hear an answer. So let's go.
Can you make any of the sinks turn off or on?
Beth hasn't heard these and her eyes popped open. So let's play it one more time.
Can you make any of the sinks turn off or on?
Now, just in case you're driving or you're somewhere where there's a lot of background noise, here it is again, and we're going to actually enhance the audio so you can hear what the spirit says better. So those are the original recordings, and this is where we're going to enhance that answer that we got.
Can you make any of the sinks turn off or on?
So what do we think, Beth?
I have a whole set of thoughts on each time you played that recording. And what I'm thinking on that last time that you recorded it, where we're going to try to amplify it way up for everybody, is that your voice has an echo that's going on in that recording.
Yep.
But the response that you got did not. It was just like this flat answer. The first time I heard it, when my eyes popped open, because all I heard there was very clearly some sort of male voice answering and saying, no.
Yep.
Just a very simple, no, I'm not going to turn the water on and off. Sorry, that was frightening.
Yeah.
Frightening and yet eerily exciting.
Yeah. Imagine being there 90 hours a week. Okay, moving on. Next one. So this next one was recorded in the basement of the building. No one was down there. There were multiple cameras going to prove no one was down there at this time. Everything was cross-checked. And there was a dishwasher who worked there for a long time. He, before he found out from the beautiful, magnificent owner that the place was haunted AF, he came up and was like, yo, I keep hearing like some kid laughing downstairs, and there's no kid. We're going to hear what was caught by Boston Paranormal Investigators. You want to hear that one again?
Not really, but yes.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that one, Beth?
It sounds like an animal.
Okay.
It sounds like an animal is like stuck somewhere and like trying to like, I don't know, scream its way out.
Okay.
I did not hear any sort of humanness to that particular recording.
So my takeaway from that, and I've listened to it countless times, and it keeps me up at night and freaks me out, is to me, and again, we've talked about this before, differences in perception. So to me, that sounds like a woman being like tortured and screaming like, it almost sounds to me like one voice she says like, get out or something, but not, I don't feel like it's directed at me. It feels like, I just hear like someone like screaming, someone yelling. What they said they think it is it sounds like children laughing, children playing. They say things like that. That's not what I heard. But we're going to leave it up to our listeners. What do you guys think? Should we play it one more time?
Play it one more time.
All right. So again, there were camcorders running in the area where this was done. There was no one around. It was all cross-examined. The building was very, very empty at that point. We were the only people there. We were up on the second floor of the building that was down in the basement. And yeah, spooky.
Yeah, no, I don't hear, there's no joy of like children's laughter going on there. That's like painful.
Correct.
Whatever's happening there. Yeah,
didn't love that. One of the women, Tenny, who is a psychic medium, her concern is that, because again, that may not have sounded like children, but we have heard children down there before. That again, and we had stuff running, and it didn't pick up anything from what we all heard, and it was like 4 or 5 people hearing the same thing, and it just not getting picked up on any sort of recording. Frustrating.
Very.
Frustrating.
It's like when we were at Mom's house and you heard whatever that noise was up on the ceiling.
Yep.
And it didn't pick up on the recording at all.
So frustrating when that happens. Her big thing with it is her concern is that she thinks it might be a decoy voice.
A decoy voice?
Yeah.
Oh, please. What, pray tell, is a decoy voice?
Like maybe something's pretending to be a young child and is actually something not cute at all or fun.
I don't.
Well, we don't do demons on this show, so moving on.
No demons.
I don't really feel that way though. I really don't. Like it's spooky to think about. I really don't feel that way. So what we do feel it is, and another thing Tenny has found is that there was someone murdered on the second floor of the building. There were actually 2 people murdered on the second floor of the building in the early 1900s.
The early 1900s were like the Wild West.
People, it was what it was.
In suburban Boston.
Well, if you want to hear the really interesting part of that story.
Which I do.
Yes. Both the people who were murdered were sitting in the same chair.
What?
Yeah, like 4 years apart.
Were they in a mobster's office or something?
They believe that the person who we think is in our building, that was mob related. It was due to, it was like a telephone company and like a rival telephone company is like when phones first came out. Like the old timey, like weird ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think it was a hit job with a rock.
What? That sounds like a horrible way to die.
Sure was. Didn't make him want to leave. So, what a psychic medium told me about it, and she actually did a very good job at noticing some stuff. She was able to point out some locations in the area that matched the description. We were able to look some stuff up with it. He was like 19 years old when he died, and he was married, because people got married wicked early, and according to her, he was having an affair with a woman around the corner.
Okay. Sneaky.
Yeah, those men are, God. Ugh. And women. I can't even say just men. I know women who do that too. Okay, anyway, not the point of this story. He was having an affair, and apparently the person he was having an affair with looks an awful lot like the young woman who owns the cafe.
Interesting.
And would you like to know what the psychic medium said he requested that young woman do?
Oh, yes. I would very much like to know that.
Okay, yeah.
I take it it's an entertaining proposition.
It's funny. It's funny. Haha. So around the corner, from this place, there's like a brown house with white pillars.